The promise, Kosha, from Trump was that he'd have this done on the first day. Well, we're well past the first day now. I think Michael is right. This is going to drag on for some time because he can't be seen. I mean, he wants to end this war. There's no doubt about that. Trump wants to end this war. But he cannot be seen to be giving too much to Russia because that would then be a signal to China as well, and on it would go.
Yes, we all know Trump is prone to rhetorical flourish, and one of his lines on the campaign stump was, "Oh yeah, once I'm in, this war will end in 24 hours," is what he said. Clearly that hasn't happened, but it is still early days, and he has definitely shifted the whole dynamic in the chessboard, certainly in the, I should say, almost 60 days compared to what the previous administration, left him with. It is potentially complicated. There are people in his base, actually, which I think is another interesting dynamic worth mentioning, that are also tiring of it and are actually saying, you know what, we should just cut our losses, America, and let them handle it and stop trying to do these deals, the minerals deal or the coal plant deal, etc. But he is trying to basically fashion something that gives some kind of payback for the U.S. and the billions of dollars it spent, recalibrates relationship with Russia, and pulls them away from China to the extent that that is even possible, and eventually getting to peace. So he's sort of operating within that framework, but there are lots of moving pieces here, and I think it's safe to say it's going to take a little bit more time.
We shall see. Let's stick with the White House and the battle between the Trump administration and the judiciary. It's heating up. Take a look.
That the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil. That is an egregious abuse of the bench.
There's even talk, Kosha, amongst some Republicans of impeaching judges. Could that actually be done?
There is a mechanism for it. So Congress has the authority to impeach either the president or judges. It is a very difficult process because the House has to pass articles of impeachment and have a majority vote in favor of it. And then the Senate has to hold a trial. And if convicted, you could remove a judge. Just given the balance of power, slim majorities and margins for Republicans, it is pretty much close to zero, the likelihood of that happening. But they are bringing the papers and trying to shift the narrative at least to go back on offense and actually put the spotlight on some of these judges that are quite activist and political in nature. It runs a spectrum. There's something like 51 cases right now against different things that Trump is doing. It runs a spectrum from things where there is an argument to be made that it needs to be adjudicated, like birthright citizenship on one end of the spectrum, all the way to the other end. There are judges saying you must spend the money that you want to save, or you cannot, as commander-in-chief, even decide who serves in your military, what types of characteristics, etc. So all these things are kind of hurtling towards a constitutional crisis. We're not there yet, but this is all about Article 2, which is presidential power, versus Article 3, judicial power.
We shall watch that one. Michael, Israel stepped up its campaign against Hamas in Gaza. Ground troops have re-entered the centre and the south of the Strip after, of course, you had airstrikes started up again a couple of days ago. It would seem that this ceasefire is well and truly done, or is the objective here to put pressure on Hamas to release the hostages and then somehow we'll be back in a ceasefire again?
Well, they gave them 2 weeks after the first phase of the ceasefire, and Hamas didn't respond to the American insistence that the hostages be released. Despite what the ABC and SBS are broadcasting horror propaganda about civilians being killed every night, this is a directed military operation at the Hamas leadership, many of whose names and pictures are published online. Even Matt Doran from the ABC could find them. But the hostages must be released. They're the objective of this military operation. And the context is, Caleb, the Houthis are on the run from the Americans. Hezbollah has collapsed. Assad disappeared from Syria, and the Iranians know they're in the gun. So I think it's a completely different time and space for looking at what the Israelis are doing in Gaza.